It's funny how any given sunrise can completely alter the way you see the world. I never imagined such a simple breakfast could spark a conversation that would be etched in my soul forever. One moment I was still wrapped in the sheets, rubbing my eyes to ward off sleep. And the next, there was my son in front of me, across the table. My heart was torn between immense pride, subtle concern, and an emotion I couldn't quite put a name to. What he confessed to me, well, it stirred something deep within me. Before we continue, tell me, where are you listening from? I love hearing how these stories travel and connecting with voices from all corners of the globe. Leave your city in the comments, would you? It was a mild autumn morning. One of those when the sun peeks timidly through the blinds, with a warmth that invites you to stay still. I was still snuggled up in bed, savoring the silence before the day claimed us, when a faint tinkling sound came from the kitchen. At first, I thought it was the wind playing with the house's old windows, which creak in the breeze. But then I made out the unmistakable sound of a pan being placed on the stove. I frowned, because in this household I've always been the one in charge in the kitchen. My son Mateo, on the other hand. Let's just say the pots and stove were never his favorite territory. He's 42 now, but even as a child he never showed any fondness for cooking, except for heating canned soups in the microwave. I got up and walked down the hall, guided by a comforting scent. Scrambled eggs with a hint of sweetness floating beneath. Honey, maybe? I paused in the doorway and watched him for a moment before he saw me. Mateo's back was turned, his broad frame facing the stove, wrapped in that gray sweatshirt I gave him ages ago. His hair was tousled, a smear of flour or something like it on his cheek. On the table, a plate of toast steamed, golden brown to perfection, next to a small glass holding a single red rose. "Good morning, Mom," she said without turning around, as if preparing breakfast for me was the most ordinary thing in the universe. "What a surprise," I replied slowly, a smile appearing. He gave a low laugh. "I wanted to do something special. You've been exhausted lately." I felt a pang in my chest. I didn't know it could be so noticeable, between the knees that ache at dawn, the sleepless nights, and the silent weight of loneliness since his father left us. I guess my steps had become slower, my voice more subdued. Mateo served the eggs and slid them across the table toward me. "Sit down," he said, in that playful tone he used as a kid when he was pretending to be the chef of an imaginary restaurant. I sat down. The bread was crusty, the eggs a little overcooked but with an irresistible aroma. Beside it, pear slices arranged in a fan, as if she'd taken the time to make everything look beautiful. I couldn't help but smile. "You didn't have to get so upset," I told him. "I wanted to," he replied, sitting opposite me and cradling his coffee cup in his hands. For a while we ate in a comfortable silence, the kind that only develops between those who know each other inside out. But I noticed he barely nibbled, just sipped his coffee and gave me looks that were filled with something else. "Is everything okay?" I asked, putting down my fork. He hesitated, drumming his fingers on the cup. "Yeah, there's something on my mind." That pause stretched just long enough for my chest to tighten. The air in the room thickened, as if even the morning sun was holding its breath, waiting. And then he let it out, words that turned the honeyed sweetness into an unexpected edge. Words I didn't see coming, but once spoken, I knew they had been maturing in him for a long time. I didn't respond immediately. My hand closed around the mug, and the ticking of the kitchen clock echoed, each second lengthening like an echo. Whatever it wasn't just breakfast anymore. It was something deeper, something we'd both avoided for years. I stared at him, the fork poised midair. His eyes didn't move, but there was a vulnerable tenderness in them I hadn't seen in a long time. "Mateo," I finally said, my voice lower than I'd intended. "What do you mean by that?" He shifted in his chair, which creaked slightly. "I've been thinking a lot about you, about us, about everything you've done for me and how little I've told you about it." I felt a lump in my throat. For years, Mateo had been a man of actions, not words. He helped me with the shopping, fixed the creaking patio door, made sure I didn't lack anything, but talking about emotions, that wasn't his thing. His father had been the same. He looked down at his coffee. "You've been alone for too long, Mom, and I, so wrapped up in my own world, didn't see how much you've carried alone." I didn't know what to say. The kitchen seemed to shrink, the walls bending to embrace this moment. The scent of the eggs had cooled, mingling with the subtle perfume of the rose between us. "You've always been strong," he continued. "You never asked for help, not even when you needed it. But I want you to know that I see you. I see everything you've done, and I thank you." His voice cracked on the last syllable, enough to make my heart ache. I reached out and touched his hand on the table. It was warm, firm, and for a second I saw him again as the boy who brought wild daisies from the garden, with soil in their roots. "Mateo," I murmured, "you don't owe me anything. You're my son. This is how we operate, looking out for each other." He shook his head. "It's more than that. I thought maybe it's time to be here in a different way. Not just patching leaks or changing light bulbs. I want to be here for real, talking, spending time together. I don't want us to just see each other at parties." His words fell heavy but comforting, like a warm blanket around my shoulders. I hadn't realized how much I missed these real, unhurried conversations. I smiled faintly. "You started off on the right foot, making breakfast and everything." He laughed, but a serious gleam lingered in his eyes. "There's something else I wanted to tell you, but I didn't want to just blurt it out." "I thought breakfast would soften it." I nodded. "And it worked?" "Maybe," he said. "Or maybe it just made me more nervous." The light from the blinds intensified, painting the table with soft stripes. Outside, a bird twittered in the distance. Inside, the world quieted. "All right," I said, setting the cup down. "You have my full attention." "What's so hard to say?" He really looked at me, and I saw deeper layers in his eyes. Whatever it was, it had been sitting there for a while, waiting for the right moment. He took a deep breath, clutching the cup like an anchor. His voice lowered, almost hesitant, afraid that the wrong tone would shut me down. "Mom, I've decided to come back and live here, with you." The words floated between us, like steam that had already dissipated from cold dishes. I blinked, processing it. Mateo hadn't slept under this roof since he was 24, almost 2 decades ago. "Come back here," I repeated. "Mateo, your apartment, your job." He nodded. "I can work remotely now. The company reorganized everything, and they gave me the option of staying with less travel or leaving with a severance package. I chose the former. The truth is, I felt disconnected. I come home at night, and there are only echoes and emptiness. I thought, why not be in a place that matters?" I leaned back in my chair, my heart tangled in pride, bewilderment, a thread of unease. But above all, a serene warmth as I imagined dinners without loneliness. Still, the mother in me surfaced. "Are you sure it's not guilt? I don't want you turning your life upside down just to take care of me." He smiled with that adolescent half-grimace, convincing of his certainty. "It's not guilt. It's what I want. You were always there for me. Now I want to be there for you, not like a son who comes around for his birthday, but like someone with whom you share your daily life." His words filtered through me like sunshine in a barren land. I didn't know how much I longed for that closeness until I heard it. I stared at the rose in the glass, its red petals open, seeking the light, as if sensing the subtle change in the air. "You know," I said slowly, "if you come back, it won't be like when you were young. We'll have to find our rhythm. 2 adults under one roof isn't that easy." "I know," he replied, "but I think it's worth a try." For the first time in years, I felt a tingle of anticipation for what was to come. Not the same old, safe routine, but a change that wasn't terrifying, but inviting. But I sensed there was another veil, something Mateo was hiding. His posture relaxed, but a personal secret shone in his eyes. "Mateo," I said, narrowing my eyes, "is there another reason for coming back?" He hesitated just long enough to confirm my instinct. When he spoke, his voice was a cautious whisper. "Yes, but I wasn't sure I should tell you yet." In that instant, with the light bathing the table and the clock ticking, I knew that his next words could not only alter our routine, but the way we saw each other forever. He looked down for a long moment, his fingers brushing the rim of the cup. The ticking of the clock grew louder, drawing me toward the truth within. When he finally spoke, his tone carried a new, mature weight. "Mom, I've thought a lot about what truly matters, and I realized something. Time is the only thing that doesn't come back. I've spent years chasing deadlines and promotions, and I've lost moments with you that I'll never get back. I don't want to continue like this. I want to be here, with you, for as long as we have left. My throat closed. They weren't grandiloquent words. They were pure, honest, and they touched a wounded corner I'd been ignoring. He continued, raising his gaze to mine. I remember when Dad left. I was here for a while, helping. It was really hard, but also different. We talked more. We laughed, even in the pain. I miss him. I miss you. My hand covered his on the table. His grip was solid, anchoring me. I thought of my silent nights, of dinners with the TV as my only company, of walls that sometimes suffocated. Mateo, I whispered, you have your own life. I never meant for you to feel tied down here. He shook his head. It's not a bond. It's a choice. And I choose this. I choose you. The sun was already shining on the table, making the rose petals glow like embers. I realized it was one of those rare moments when you feel life's turn in real time, when you know you'll look back and say, that was the day everything changed. I took a deep breath. Okay, I said, if you're sure, let's do it. Let this house be yours again. A slow smile lit his face, softening the wrinkles life had carved. In it, I saw not only my son, but a man choosing to be by my side, not out of obligation, but out of pure love. We finished breakfast. The eggs were cold, but tastier than anything in months. The conversation turned to practical matters. Where he would put his desk, what room he would choose, whether we would paint the walls a serene blue. But beneath it all, a new pulse beat, the certainty that neither of us would face our days alone. Later, after she left to pack the essentials, I lingered at the table for a while. The rose rested between my empty plate and her half-empty cup. The house returned to its stillness, but it no longer felt hollow. It was as if it were holding its breath, anticipating what was to come. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like life was passing me by. I felt like I was about to hug her again, with Mateo by my side. Days later, when the boxes arrived and the aroma of his morning coffee mingled with mine, I knew we had forged something unbreakable. Not just a home, but a renewed bond, filled with shared laughter, evening confidences, and the promise to never let another moment pass. Because in the end, what counts is not the time we have, but how we fill it with light.